So I wasn't going to do a video tonight, but I decided to talk a little bit about some food and wine, and because this wine that I opened to have tonight with dinner is just awesome, and it's just clicking on all cylinders today. And it's Marina Cvetic MdA Montepulciano d'Abruzzo Reserva 2016, and it's a bigger wine than I remember. It's very bold, very full-bodied, but absolutely, as soon as I put it in my nose, smells like Italy. Brings me to Italy, and some of that fresh herb sensation, and I get like a mulled raspberry, and then even like a black olive thing, like an olive tamponade, which I typically get out of northern Rhone, not so much here, but today I'm getting it on this. All those things come through the palate. It's extremely tannic, it's extremely acidic, it's extremely juicy, it's delicious. It's delicious but elegant, and it's not even that expensive. I don't remember the exact price for this thing, but this wine is awesome. And wines like this just scream for, I go, Italy goes to Italy, right? Italian food, Italian wine. That's not always a rule, but I think it always works. So sometimes where wine is grown, you want to eat the cuisine of the same place. You know, the whole red meat with red wine, white meat with white wine there's definitely some things there. I don't believe you want to drink this red wine with a white fish. It's not that you couldn't. It would probably make the fish taste metallic a little bit, and also just overpower it. You always want to have a wine complement your food, not ever overpower your food. So there's one exception to having something more decadent than what you're having. So if you're having a sweet wine with dessert, you want your wine to be sweeter than the dessert. Otherwise that sweet wine will taste not sweet, and it will not be enjoyable with a dessert. I don't really eat much dessert, but that is sort of a rule to go with. Red wine and spicy food, I don't believe goes really well together. I know there's some very, like, high tannin wine and spicy food absolutely doesn't work. You need a high acid wine to kind of calm some of that spice off dry, so slightly dry, off dry, or slightly sweet. White wine's really good with spicy food, Indian food, Asian cuisine. Just great pairings there for sure. You can't do it with a tannic red. It won't work. It'll make it taste hotter. It'll make the wine taste bitter. There's these things that happen with certain compounds in the wines and the foods that just certain just don't go together. You know, everyone's like red wine and cheese, but white wine goes just as well with cheese, because a high fat dish goes really well with a high acid dish, a high acid wine, and white wine is high acid. I think cheeses could be drank with almost anything. Super aged cheeses probably go better with some reds, but I've had plenty of cheese with white, had no issue with it at all, and I believe it's a good compliment when you're in the mood for a white rather than a red with cheese. But with foods, it's a little bit more different. Red sauce type foods, I like a high acid red from Italy, Sangiovese. You don't want anything, again, too tannic, too bold. If you're having a dish that's, you know, you're having a eggplant parmesan dish, you don't want anything that's going to overpower that dish. There's no huge protein in it. It's eggplant, cheese, sauce, some other things. So you want to keep it with a nice high acid wine that will pair well with it. Sangiovese, Brunello, Chianti, something like that. Typically works really well. Or, I mean, I think this would go fine with it. Absolutely, this has got a high acid to it. This is a little bit bolder than those wines. But Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is not necessarily always bolder, but I think lately the ones I've been having from Marina Cvetic and from Illuminati, a bit of a bolder taste to them, and I think that's probably why I like them. But they're still very Italian, very identity-centric, and they're just great wines. Tonight I'm having some veal saltimbocca, and that's what I'm having this with. And I think it's going to be an amazing pairing. Brunello would go well. Any Sangiovese type wine would go well with this, absolutely. You probably don't want a big, huge brooding Cabernet, though, or Bordeaux. It just probably wouldn't work. Maybe more Ripe Bank, which is more Merlot, Cab Franc. This definitely would go good with a Nebbiolo, Barolo, Barbaresco, or anything made from the Nebbiolo grape. High acid, high tannin, but a little bit of a lighter feel to it. So I am getting hungry, sneering my food under my nose. And I know this wasn't going to be an eating and drinking video, just a little bit of a talking about this wine specifically. I really like this wine. I think I said it when I had it. It's got a very drying, a drying sensation, and I know that sounds silly. It's a dry red wine, but it dries your mouth out even more. The tannins are pretty mouth puckering. This wine, I believe, can age far longer, and the price is probably 30, sub 30, something like that. Very inexpensive. I've only been able to order this from J.J. Buckley. I've seen Marina Cvetic's other bottling for 20 to 25, and that's an amazing bottle for 20 to 25. This one I think is a little bit more, but not even 100% sure. So anyway, I could even see like wow, that is the sediment, I'm pretty sure. So there's even a lot of sediment kicking out of this wine. So it's a very, very good wine. You definitely, this absolutely drinks much more expensive than it costs. It's good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna enjoy my dinner. Not gonna finish this tonight, and at least I don't think so. I said that the other night about the Petite Syrah. That Ridge Petite was so good. I'm definitely gonna get another one of those, and I just finished it that night. Just hit the spot that night. I don't know what else I've had recently that I needed to update on, but I know that Ridge Petite was really good, really exceptionally made. I give 5 stars just for how good it was. That's as good as a Petite Syrah as I've had. The only other one I can remember, and I've had some amazing Petite Syrahs. One that really stands out was one called Relic. I believe it was like a $75 one. This was 40, and Relic was extremely luscious, extremely elegant. It just hit on all cylinders. It was amazing. I think it was called Relic. I had it a number of years ago. I don't think I've ever seen it since. If I do see it again, I would get it just for how good I remember it. And the Ridge was amazing. I'm still thinking of mine. Do I buy Ridge Montebello for myself for my Christmas gift? We shall see. And then even have maybe a Christmas wine tasting of sorts and open the Ridge, although that would be way too early. So that's probably a bad idea. If I buy the Ridge, unless I find an older vintage, I'm definitely not going to open the Ridge Montebello too young. Definitely want to give it its time to develop into what it can be and show itself. So that's it. Marina Cvetic, Iskra, have my dinner. This wine's awesome, and I absolutely recommend decanting this. It's only going to get, the aromas are awesome. Like right out of as soon as I put it in the decanter, I could smell it. So you can't really read the back of this thing. I'm not sure if that has anything interesting in there, but save it for the next time I update on the Marina Cvetic Iskra.